we did some things that were wrong. We did a whole lot of things that were right.
We've taken control of the oil in the Middle East, the oil that we're talking about.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create.
We choose truth over facts.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. The foothills of the Himalayas.
Television. People are saying,
we are fighting Satan himself.
Journalists, ask them the question! Ask them! Ask them! Ask them!
Agreed that everybody wants to stay inside this. Anyway, my time's up. America's dead.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my
America.
God.
Thank you for joining us. America is indeed dead. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Politically Homeless with our guest Snow Himbo this evening. So
he's a friend of the network. Everyone
knows. Friend of the network, but have we had him on our show before? I don't think we've had him on our show before.
We only did the tier list. Anyway, guys, welcome to Nobody Wants to Fuck. Never mind.
It's like Joe Biden.
We got to do it again.
It's politically in the news that American is not Terra.
Yeah. You know what? If anyone questions it, just call it a stutter. It's fine.
Yeah. But we're the Indie News Network. We're parts of the Indie News Network, so it's all just a gangbang anyway.
Exactly.
We're all just a mishmash of characters.
But people may have had to notice that we're not on our typical YouTube channel tonight because, as people may know, we're getting censored like crazy in light of what's going on with occupied Palestine these days, and so we're having to adjust, and so we're going to primarily be on Rumble tonight, and in the future, we may be looking into something as prioritizing Rumble on more of our content because we kind of see.
Which, by the way, fuck YouTube.
It's fuck just YouTube. Yeah. It seems to me that it's kind of seemed to people who have listened to our show in past weeks may have noticed that Greg and I, and for that matter, Snow Himbo on his own show, where it's like, can't say this, safe and effective, or having to kind of dodge around saying certain things. So we've known that this day was coming for a long time, and it's just kind of getting to the point where it's like, okay, well, it's time to not really look at YouTube as like a viable platform anymore because it's so apparent that their rules and regulations can change from one day to the next and pretty much centers around the current thing. So it just makes it really difficult for us to kind of prepare for that.
I've kind of looked at the writing on the wall for a bit now. At first, we all kind of thought it was a one-off, with the election shit. And it's like, okay, Orange Man bad. They really don't want Orange Man in. And then COVID happened, and everything with COVID got censored. And it's like, okay, well, it's a global pandemic. Maybe this is a one. Now it's just across the board. It's just whatever propaganda that isn't okay by the capitalist class is essentially just verboten, and it's just going to get worse.
It's really like that.
The way I look at it, it's like, okay, well, as someone who always does want to speak truth and cover the kind of news that you're not going to get from Rachel Mad Cow or anybody else, fuck that. We're going to just be forced down a narrow lane of we're going to get railroaded into eventually we're going to have to dance around what we're saying so much that we're going to be indistinguishable virtually from corporate press.
Yeah, exactly. So I remember talking to one friend at one point where it was like, maybe we should just make a satire where it's just a show where we just pretend to be liberals and the whole thing's just a joke.
The whole thing's a skit. The Majority Report, but ironically.
Yeah, but See, the problem is I can't watch that because I already watched the Young Turks for comedy, so it wouldn't work anyway.
Yeah, so I think it's getting to the point. I think we all see what's happening. It's just slow to start something new.
Didn't Cenk debate what's his name?
Recently?
Like either yesterday or today.
Who?
Cenk Uygur and
I saw him with his cousin. Is a cousin Hassan a month ago?
No, it's his nephew.
Nephew, that's right.
Listen, Hassan's got a lot of bad takes, but I'm gonna be honest, like pretty spot on with the Palestine shit.
He's like, yeah, except did you see him on Piers Morgan?
Yeah, he looked like idiot.
He didn't. He was not prepared for that. I saw about 10 minutes of it.
That's what I was talking about. He went on Piers Morgan.
All right.
Yeah, he was on Piers Morgan and was.
Would you actually? He
posted.
You actually want to watch it for fun?
I mean, we can put it on if we want, but like
3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Yeah, you can play it.
Piers Morgan.
At the end of the day, like we got so inundated with news the last couple of weeks that it was like fucking with our heads, and we noticed that a lot of our friends, their heads were getting fucked with too. So we started to switch it up a little bit lighter this evening.
Yeah.
But if you want to play that Hassan clip, we can kind of go from there and spitball with it. And
I mean, Piers Morgan's voice gives me incontinence, but I'll try and deal with it. Got a pretty good share here. We'll figure it out. But yeah, let's give her, as we say it up here.
It's also just really comforting to see Cenk flop all over himself. You saw the thing what happened to him in Nevada, right? Where he was like, he tried to cross out.
Oh, it's Cenk who went on freaking.
He's a fucking idiot. Like that's a fucking
bro. Just that picture. That freeze right there.
Hamas is ruining the Palestine. Look at that Chiron, dude. What the fuck are you talking about? Hamas is ruining the Palestinian cause. Why does it say Uyghur? It's not Uyghurs like Uyghurs. It's Cenk. Okay.
None of us have seen this yet. I've not seen this yet.
All right, let's.
I promise you. I saw the announcement and I'm like, oh shit, he posted it. So, okay.
Like he's trying to find the hostages. If I have a family member that's a hostage, I'm disgusted by what Netanyahu's doing now. How do you know they're not in the buildings you're dropping bombs on? How do you know they're not in the tunnels you're dropping bombs on? How do you know they're not in the hospitals you're dropping bombs on? So if you want the hostages rescued, every rational human being can agree this is not the way to do it. This is the way to do death and destruction for the sake of death and destruction. It's collective punishment.
There you go. That's the point.
It's genocide against Palestinians, and the world has to speak out. So my way is not pleasant either. It involves a lot of folks dying on both sides. I understand that. Those are super hard choices. But go find Hamas. Go find the hostages. Go rescue them. Instead of wantingly, and let's be honest, you drop a bomb and a kid's mother is incinerated, that is terrorism. Killing 3 as many civilians as Hamas is terrorism. And it is the same it is done by our government. Send in as many special forces as you got. We should send in whatever you got to actually do the job at hand instead of what Netanyahu is doing, which is to kill these people to send a message. And think about how unrealistic that is.
No,
and think
genocide.
about why his method has a 0% chance of working. How are the Palestinians supposed to rise up against Hamas? How would they prove they're against Hamas? Hamas ended all elections. Hamas ended democracy. So how are the Palestinians supposed to cry uncle? They're already crying uncle, but it's never enough for the bloodthirsty Netanyahu. No, more death of Palestinians, more babies killed. That's what his answer is. And it's this, and the United States of America, I'm running for president here. In the world, I would allow this. Sending $105 billion.
It's
I hear he's running under the Bofa party.
It's fucking 2 minutes in, and this is the first time he's saying, "Oh yeah, I'm running."
By the way, in case you forgot, I'm totally on Piers Morgan because I'm running for president.
Get the thing.
It's a super serious campaign here.
Dude, he goes up on. He's just like, "Oh yeah, and by the way, I'm running for president."
Like an afterthought.
How would they prove they're against Hamas? Hamas ended all elections. Hamas ended democracy. So how are the Palestinians supposed to cry uncle? They're already crying uncle. But it's never
So
enough
is
for
the
the
song.
bloodthirsty Netanyahu. No, more death of Palestinians, more babies killed. That's what his answer is. And it's this, and the United States of America, I'm running for president here. There's no way in the world I would allow this. Sending $105 billion. And it doesn't even go to Ukraine or Taiwan. It goes to the defense contractors that bribe these greedy American politicians and then get most of that money. And so the long-term answer is 1967 borders and the biggest walls you've ever seen in your entire life. And no one's allowed to cross to either side. But the Palestinians get their state.
There it is.
That's the solution.
There it is. There it fucking is.
What a fucking idiot.
So, do you see how he starts, y'all? Do you see how he starts? He starts with all the right talking points, right? But then he goes into the territory of like, oh, it's Hamas. Hamas is the bad guy. What is Israel doing? What is Israel doing right now? The only thing Israel is doing right now is they are using Hamas as essentially the green light to do whatever the fuck they want. So what he's doing, you think he's on your side, and this is how these fucking clowns trick y'all. You think he's on your side, but again, he's directing to the green light. He's saying, "Oh, but it's these bad guys," and then so he's kind of validating the establishment talking points of, well, at the end of the day, it is Hamas, so that's why they're doing what they're doing. This guy's not on your side. He's just a good fucking LARPer, like the rest of the good fucking LARPers. And at this point, I'd at least respect Destiny more, because at least he's like bald faced.
He'll just tell you he's a fascist to your face.
He'll just tell you he's got a boot stuck in his throat since 1986, right? Like this guy is out here and he's just like he's doing these see-through fucking
I feel like you can see the mental gymnastics happening in real time as Sang tries to verbalize his objections to what's happening, because on the one hand he's like, well, obviously if like they're just bombing everybody, are they really looking for Hamas? There's got to be a better way to do that. Why don't they send special agents in there? And then at the same time he'll be like, this is just genocide. So he'll still recognize that it's genocide and still tell people at the same time that they need to have a better solution. It's like he's trying to fake himself out that the point isn't the genocide while still saying that genocide is happening.
This is the perfect example of a fucking reactionary,
just
right here.
Yeah, totally broken brained.
Because he's like, oh, this is a bad thing. Look at all these things that I'm saying that you agree with. But at the end of the day, I'm going to propose something that just maintains the status quo.
Yeah,
and
just
doesn't
continues to
problem.
Bomb women and children in Gaza.
Let's wrap this up.
Can you please just keep pausing it though? Because so far you're on a fucking roll.
Of course you believe that the Palestinians are not the only people in the world that cannot govern themselves. If you say that, you are being, by definition,
he's such a bad actor.
And a racist. We have to have...
That's why he's not good at this.
He sounds like a liberal.
Like he's
just so unserious. But the Piers Morgan came on as like, I guess his original got canceled or something.
Of occupation and brutalizing these people is not enough. Is 57 years going to be enough? Is 156 years going to be enough? I'm asking Israel, not out of hate, out of love. So many of my friends that I grew up with are Jewish. This is not good for 50.
I'm sorry, y'all. I did not care what I wanted to hear. What Piers wanted.
I mean, I haven't listened to TYT in probably like I don't know 10 years, and
dude,
I feel like that guy. Like, what is he bringing to the table? He sounds
there's only so much of a fucking Dark Souls boss in a suit that people can fucking deal with. Okay, Jesus Christ.
Well, John, discuss this. Is just the world's most influential.
I'm sorry, they killed me.
The Young Turks, Democratic presidential
such an unserious fucker.
You go, Cenk. Great to have you on the program. Thank you very much for joining me. I've been following your tweets with interest this week. You've been getting increasingly angry, I think it'd be fair to say. You said, I'm now enormously frustrated by US and Israeli government's barbaric acts in Gaza. I will not be shy in sharing that opinion on Piers Morgan's show today. Why are you so frustrated?
Yeah. Well, honestly, I didn't expect the framing that you put on this segment, and it's framing like that. That's disgusting. So I don't see what this has anything to do with anti-Semitism. I formed Young Turks and TYT with 2 Jewish friends who are some of my friends growing up. We've known each other and been brothers for over 40 years now. So I think what Hamas did is disgusting. I cry for those Israeli innocent civilians. But do I see you guys crying for Palestinians? I mean,
are important to be heard, including yours. I certainly wasn't accusing you, by the way, or your organisation of anti-Semitism. I just think I have found it, as somebody who's always identified as liberal myself, I found it very dispiriting to see people who call themselves liberals, whose instant response, it seemed to me, to one of the worst terror attacks we've ever seen, was to immediately side with the place where these attacks had been launched from. Now, I don't tar all Palestinians with the brush of being Hamas at all. And in fact, the sooner Hamas are out of there, the better for the Palestinian people and the world. But I just think the only human response you can have is, as you did, by the way, to your credit, is it was disgusting what happened on October the 7th. Now, the question then becomes, what is a proportionate response by Israel? Not just to the terror attacks of October
6,000 bombs in a weekend?
There is now a huge ongoing...
5,000, yeah, more double the bombs.
You know, like 1,500 children or 1,500... How many is it now? It's like almost 1,500 women and children or something dead now. It's crazy.
Cowboys letting us know that it's the clip's apparently choppy, which is probably
That's all right. We don't
guys. We did that.
Clip.
We did that for your safety because there's only so many frames of a melted Fred Flintstone action figure that the world can see in like one go.
I just don't understand. Like he I don't think he's saying anything that you wouldn't catch on like CNN. So I don't know why he's doing like I don't understand where TYT's success comes from when he doesn't sound any different than freaking establishment show.
He's there for the same reason. He's there for the same reason Hassan is. He's there to look stupid so people like Pierce can look better. This is all a fucking tactic. He's not on here like, I'm going to argue my case, which is why he's acting like he's a constipated 5-year-old.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
58,000 years old. Okay, this is a tactic. That's what this is. He's there to look stupid, which is why Hassan Do you honestly think someone like Hassan couldn't at least have prepared like some receipts, anything for his own appearance?
Yeah, I mean, I saw his and I was like, why didn't he do like just the most minimal amount of studying to talk to a professional propagandist? Like
the bare minimum of like anything. And if you say like, oh well, he got nervous, or like, oh, we got caught off guard, why do you go on that?
Exactly. If you're not prepared to talk to a guy who's like paid to just fucking lie to your face every day, then like don't tarnish your brand. But anyway, yeah. So fuck Sank. I wish Hassan did a little bit better, but like
he still had a better at least.
I would say that Hassan's like gotten better. I would say since COVID in his analysis of what's going on, because he used to be just like basically just like more like a Bernie bro. And I would say over the last couple of years he's been more left, but I'm still like I don't like watch him unless it just happens to show up like a little clip or something.
Yeah.
Hassan's okay. I mean, he's like even on China, he's like not terrible. Did you see he got canceled on his own podcast for he had to like break ties with not like for good, but like he had a falling out with Ethan over China because of the
the problem is like I don't think he's a net positive for any cause though, because if you ask across the board, far left to far right, like what they think of Hassan, everybody's going to be like he's an idiot. He's an idiot. Like, so you've got an idiot there saying the correct things. A lot of people who haven't like figured out how to think as an adult yet and be like, oh, that's the correct take. I'm going to congratulate that person for the correct take. They're just going to be like, and I see a lot of this online to this day where they're just like, oh, well, the dumb person said a thing, therefore that thing must be false. Like,
yeah,
I see this shit all the fucking time. It's baby brain logic, but unfortunately that's where we're at. So anyway, thanks everybody for watching and coming.
Little impromptu this evening.
Yeah. I wanted to. Oh my god! You actually paused it on one that made him look good. Way to go! That's. There you go.
In what has been, as you rightly say, a 56-year war, effectively, in varying degrees over that period. And that's where I think I'm struggling to see how a ground invasion by Israel, with all that would entail, particularly mass deaths of Palestinian civilians, how that is going to do anything for any peaceful resolution to this. I think it will have the opposite effect.
Yes.
Hey,
so
speaking of
let's
idiots
take it one
who
at a time.
say
First of all,
the right
as you rightly
thing once
point
in a
out,
while.
on Young Turks, we covered the atrocious actions of Hamas right from the get-go, and we condemned it as fully as anyone can possibly condemn it. Because not
it's. Do you feel like watching the rest of this?
Not really. I don't
Yeah,
think. I mean, he just sounds like a fucking liberal.
He sounds.
Yeah.
It's clowns to the left of me and idiots to the right. It just like.
I mean, and we've also, and that's kind of what brings us to like tonight's episode. Is like we spent the last 2 weeks talking about the kind of like places where people are putting nuance where there doesn't need to be nuance, and people getting caught up on these two words, condemn Hamas, like that, with like that gives them the excuse to just like have the worst takes on Israel, but because they said like condemn Hamas, it like makes everything okay. Like they can just like go off on their tangents, and it's just, I don't know, just like there's kind of like a brain dead discourse going on right now, and I think it's kind of been Sank kind of exemplifies it because his take is like not really bringing anything new to the table, and it's just a pretty establishment in my view.
Yeah.
Either way,
I mean,
yeah, the situation in Gaza is very bleak, and it's pretty much it's pure state-sponsored genocide all the way across the board, and there's even in the UN where every single year Israel is being condemned by the international community, and we're the only ones to be.
Yeah, it's just Israel and the U.S. I think are the only ones that like refuse to condemn apartheid or condemn like what's happening to the Palestinians. Mm-hmm. There's some resolution, or it's like the same thing, like to recognize food as a human right. It's always like Israel and the U.S. that are like, no, we're not going to do that.
Yep.
So there's like a whole bunch of stuff that we unfortunately agree with Israel on, but yeah, as far as it's been so tragic, and I think that's kind of why I wanted to do the direction that we're doing tonight, is that we, the people who have like their heads on their shoulders and have more than 2 brain cells to rub together, are recognizing that a ethnic cleansing is taking place, and we see it happening in front of our eyes, and we're like kind of like seeing people just either go about their day by day or regurgitating that like Hamas is using human shields, so somehow that makes it okay for Israel to bomb the shit out of Gaza. And so we're seeing all this stuff happening, and I know for me personally, it was like, oh my god, like how can the world, 8 billion people, see what's going on, and like more than half of them are like, yeah, that's okay with me. You know, that's one thing that's missing in my head. I mean, I live with people who, you know, watch MSNBC and stuff like that, so it's like I'm having a very difficult time having an outlet.
I didn't mean to cut your info. What were you saying?
Huh?
I wasn't saying it. Wait, I was saying something. Hold on.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I think I was just gonna say, like, you know, I'm talking about. I was basically just gonna address what y'all said, where it's like, you know, it's a really bleak mood right now across the board. That's kind of why we're here to some extent.
Has it grasped, like, has it like really like gone into your head yet that this is how historical this moment is? Because like the body counts,
yes,
compared to 67 and the 6-Day War, which by the way, which technically 5
dude, days. like in what 14 days there's already over
5,000
10,000 casualties, something like that. Casualties doesn't necessarily only mean dead, just people who are like hospitalized, incapacitated, but it's like huge numbers already. So when the ground invasion happens and the airstrikes start turning Gaza City into a parking lot, we're going to see numbers go from 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 80,000, 100,000, 200,000. We're going to see numbers that are going to blow our fucking brains and like just we can't even fathom stuff that we haven't seen since the Holocaust or freaking Nakba 1, that like I'm having a difficult time like reconciling seeing these numbers and seeing the numbers that we already see, like over 1,000 kids dead, you know, a hospital gets blown up and 500 people die. Like that, those are shocking numbers to me in and of themselves. And we are just supposed to act like that's supposed to happen. It's no big deal.
Meanwhile, everybody in my country is screaming anti-Semite. Meanwhile, they just finished applauding a fucking...
It makes you feel crazy.
Yes.
It makes you feel nuts.
Yeah.
I go to Times Square and it's lit up in these Israel like.
So that wasn't AI. That's a real thing. That they really are like that in Times Square. The Israel flags.
No, dude,
and
when
like
I posted a video that I took myself in Times Square. It's all over Times Square. There's
oh my god! I thought it was AI. That's crazy.
And American
guys,
where?
Guys, we're all old enough.
I saw it in person. It's there.
We're all old enough to remember the first go around of this. You know,
well,
I was in high school, right? You remember?
So yeah, I mean, after 9/11 was shock and awe, like how they broadcast.
I only sort of remember. I was much younger.
Man, like Brian Williams was
I
like
forgot
the most bloodthirsty, like. Yeah, I know. I'm 37, so I remember after 9/11, you had freaking Brian Williams, and
it's okay.
I think Tom Brokaw was already out of it by then.
The streaming age is actually 9, so.
But yeah, like it is kind of the playbook is kind of coming back, but it's just the part that really gets to me is just realizing that there was these like massive atrocities that happened like before we were born, and we were like, oh, never again. We were taught in history this shit was never going to happen again, and we're seeing it happen right in front of our eyes in like half the country.
It's not just that, it's the internet too. Just think about how all of this shit is fucking broadcasted to the entire world to see. It's like watching a Holocaust movie, like a realistic.
It really is crazy because that is something that didn't happen during.
You didn't get that
Iraq or Afghanistan. We didn't have the smartphones that people had on their freaking chest that they were recording everything. So in that regard, that's a much more visceral thing. And like to that credit, one of the reasons we're able, as people who are critical of, Hezbollah and stuff like that, is like we can actually see the body cams of like Hamas or PIJ or these different groups, and we can see the body cams of IDF, and we can see like the fucking cell phones of the people who were at Sderot, and we can kind of put the facts together. And that was like one of the things why the information overload is coming from. It's because we've been exposed to so much information that it was just like, I kind of lost it. I like cried for days because of all the shit that I was seeing. But at the same time, like being able to see all the mobile footage that we're getting is really helping to paint a clearer picture of what's really going on. The stuff that Israel, I'm sure used to be able to pull in the past, even with what happened in 2019 with the March of Return, even though that was well documented. And then you had the siege of Gaza in 2007, which, smartphones were still kind of new at that point.
Isn't it funny how the IDF they can't even come out with one video, like the one post that they make regarding the deaths, or like, did you see that one tweet that they had up where it was like, oh, we'll show you the beheaded babies, but it's not allowed on it'll go against the terms of policy on this website, so we can't.
Dude, that's just my.
Is that really what they said? I knew that they weren't going to have anything.
That's just really, guys. We're doing my dog ate my homework in 2023 of our.
And you're
Lord.
supposed to just accept it. See, but Israel has been, I think, part of like the Hezbollah machine has been built up on being able to dupe people so easily, and being in this world where we have access to information on people's cell phones and stuff like that so readily. The tactics that they've been able to use for decades isn't working. This go around.
Yeah, and because I wanted to cover this a little later, but they overplayed their hand, and I sincerely believe that they overplayed their hand with the level of propaganda that they're dealing out. I feel like they majorly did it in the COVID era, and it feels so fucking good to say that here on a channel that won't nuke me into the ground for saying that. They majorly overplayed their hand when it came to COVID propaganda. They majorly overplayed their hand when it came to the war in Ukraine. All of the narratives that you could look up in 12 seconds. And the funniest thing is they didn't even account for the fact that there are people who have been alive throughout all of these major fucking blunders, and they're connecting the dots. It's not hard to do.
They did.
I
This
feel
is
like
a
it's
track record. You can't.
Yeah.
What was that?
Hide this.
Not
It's just
anymore.
amazing to me how like we're seeing day after day footage of all these dead babies. I won't show it, but here's literally a video of a dead baby right here from Gaza, and they're saying that this platform's guidelines are not suitable for but
just make
how come I can see all this evidence from Gaza of all this massacre and brutal suffering, but in Israel, I need to show you guys the tag location in Instagram for Tel Aviv. It's crazy. Hold on.
Well, hey, who can name this quote? Always accuse your enemy of that which you are doing.
Probably what, Sun Tzu or something.
I'm pretty sure it was Joseph Goebbels. Same thing, really. I think.
Well, I mean, and that was like one of the first things that we noticed.
That's
with
a
the
fascist playbook.
that was one of the first things that we noticed with the conflict with the like beheaded babies and all the like different narratives that were coming out. Is like one of the first things that I started internalizing was like, okay, every single time something comes out from Israel, I'm just going to immediately assume it's projection until further notice. And
that's what people should be doing. And they were like, dude, all the fucking chuds on the internet are like out here, and it's frustrating to me.
They're all doing bad work.
But
really is like that.
They're fucking going off. They're like, oh, did you see how the BBC and the Times Square, they jumped on this story right away. They love Palestine. And it's literally the fucking opposite. It's the complete fucking opposite. The New York Times changed their headline 4 times. 4 times!
Yeah, it was 4 times. It was just wild.
Yeah, you know why? Because they cannot handle parallels starting to be drawn between this fake team sports garbage wherein both parties, I think everybody deep down knows, are essentially the same with like different wrapping paper, but we're like, so many people are in on the LARP that they're just like, I don't know how to get out of this LARP. It's kind of the same with COVID, where it's like, yeah, I'm still wearing a mask even though I now know it doesn't.
Well, it's like it's like just seeing the clip with Sank. It's like you can see that he's having to do freaking mental gymnastics to support what Israel is doing, and at the same time recognize that what they're doing is genocide, and the point of what they're doing is genocide. So it's like I can't wrap my head around it anymore, and it drives me crazy that these are the mental backflips people go through day in, day out. And it's just, it's exhausting. It's so exhausting.
Yep. And that's kind of why we're here to some degree.
Yeah. And I mean, that was like kind of the first point that I had, was that like, I just see so much cognitive dissonance. And it was like what we were kind of alluding to before, where the Israel propaganda machine is trying to use tactics that don't really work in the age of like mobile devices and smartphones and social media and TikTok and all that stuff. So we're able to see the lies and bullshit really easily. And so the people who, in real time. And the people who are unwilling to see the truth and it's like that 1984 quote, the party asked you to
reject the evidence that drives in the ears.
Yeah, it was their last demand or something like that.
It was their final most essential.
Exactly. Their final most essential command. But that's what's happening, is like people are being forced to reject what they see. And it's so fucking obvious now. It's so fucking obvious. It's not like COVID, where you had to actually like look up the studies and be like, here's the studies, look for yourself, all the information's there. But you're actually seeing these things in videos, or the lack of evidence that IDF has, and just people regurgitating the same talking points. It's almost like rebranded Ukrainian talking points that they're using for fucking Israel now. It's like
no, it's the Iraq ones. They already pulled out the fucking
or Iraq too. Yeah, it's all the same. It's all the same.
It's Iraq 2.0.
They have. That's why it's not working, because people are noticing. They're like, wait a minute. No, I've been to this rodeo before. Y'all didn't have any weapons of mass destruction in Iraq.
Well, it's like what was it today? There was something today that people saw that was like a book that came. They found the book cover on Amazon, and it was like that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. The chemical weapons.
The chemical weapons. Yeah, it was like a book on fucking Amazon. Like,
yeah, Herzog. He pulls out. No, he pulled out an Al Qaeda book, and it was in fucking English.
Come on.
Are you fucking kidding me?
It's like,
it would only be better if it were like a children's book.
He said
like
this
crayons.
is an original Al Qaeda book, and it says the word Al Qaeda in pure English on there.
Well, it's like what was it a few days ago, or like I think a couple days into the conflict, they said that they had taken down some Hamas soldiers and they found maps of tunnels on them, and it said like top secret in like bold font like on the papers, and it's like, come on guys, are you even trying? But like people just believe anything because if they've already had to believe everything that they believed as far as COVID is concerned, and then everything as Ukraine is concerned, and then you think about like what happened in like the Canadian Parliament with like cheering on Nazis and all this stuff that people have had to agree and just toe the line because they've been like afraid of losing friends and family and afraid of being an outcast. Yeah. They're just taking it all in.
There it is. I think a much worse problem isn't that they actually believe it. I think a much worse problem is just self-censoring. And I wanted to address that a little, where it's like, that's one of the things I'd like people to encourage more. I know it's going to suck. I know it's going to be hard, but like, seriously, we got to start being just more authentic. You know, I know it's hard. I know everybody's compelled, especially like a family gathering or being out with your friends, and they're all vomiting propaganda onto you, and you're like, ew, I'm trying to eat my wings and shit. But at some point, you just got to be like, you know what? No, I don't really buy that. No, but like, and you can be honest about it. Do the whole like, yeah, I'm curious. Like, isn't this a thing? And isn't this a thing? Because like the self-censorship is what's really killing us. And it's because people are seeing what happens to people who speak out. COVID's a great example. Anyone who like dared speak out about it was called like a right-wing Trumper, fascist, Nazi, communist, Marxist, all the words, right? But it's like, you know, it's I think that's a much bigger problem. People need to stop self-censoring. We need to all start being far more authentic across the board. And if we all did that, then more people, it's kind of like not a snowball effect, but another effect that my brain is not doing right now. So I'm just gonna, it's like chain lightning, you know, that spell in WoW, like as a shaman, you cast it, it's like hits one target and it goes to another target and goes to another target. And if you spec into elemental spec, anyway, okay. No, it's like, it's a ripple effect, you know, if you're being more authentic, that's going to encourage other people to be more authentic as well. And that's how you break out of what I would consider a mass formation psychosis that I don't think we've snapped out of yet. I think all the transference from COVID has just shifted. That's what I think's happened.
I mean, I was about to say, if you're familiar, remember
it's literally the chip replacement meme.
yeah, they're just swapping it out. They're just swapping it out.
Exactly. It's just like,
no one talks about Ukraine anymore. No one, even the NATO guys are disbanding. They're fighting against.
Well, remember there was that announcement. There was that NATO guy who had like 1 million people or something. And they're like, yeah, we're not getting paid anymore. We're done with this.
No,
he didn't quite say that, but he was like, yeah, there's just. They basically said that they were shuttering this like massive NATO account, and it's clear to me that the powers that be that are controlling them and telling them to do it, like that well dried up.
Translation. We gotta go into pre-production. You know, we got a lot of shit for Taiwan we got to do.
Yeah, exactly.
We need to dig up a bunch of like McCarthyite sort of shit that we're gonna repackage when we finally arrive at this arc.
Oh my god, these guys are the definition of like the current thing manifested.
Dude, my favorite. Okay, if you haven't seen how Caitlin Johnstone deals with NAFO fuckers, it is the greatest thing on earth. I remember this one interaction she had with one of these NAFO trolls, and it was like, sir, you are a 79-year-old man pretending to be 20 or something like that. But she's just like, these are just a bunch of bored boomers that the feds got to. Oh my god, it's so glorious. She clowned on them so hard, and she attracted like every single one of them. It was amazing.
You remember when they had that like summit or that
yeah, and it turned out that the guy who started NAFO was like a raging anti-Semite or something.
I just want to know. I just want to know how they got everyone from Pole in one place together. That's what I'm curious about.
They figured it out how to take them all from 4chan and actually materialize them out of their freaking rooms.
Yeah, okay. I'm pretty sure I saw an Attack on Titan shirt because of course you do. Of course you see that. For the record, not shitting on Attack on Titan. That show was based. But I think there was like an MLP motherfucker in there somewhere. It was just like if 4chan as a board had representation, that was the NAFO meeting. It was just right across the board. Literally.
It
right across the board.
It seems to me that the NAFO around these days, who is like trying to kind of stand for Israel, like it doesn't seem like they're as cohesive as they were with Ukraine, but I don't know.
I think they're finding it harder to do because I don't know if y'all have noticed this as well, but like there's a really interesting dynamic of people speaking out here. You see a lot of people who you would have sworn they would have been like 100% pro-Israel coming out being like, yeah, no, this is fucked up. Like this is a really interesting development insofar as like I think we're seeing people literally being like, oh no, I'm not just following orders on this bitch. I'm drawing a line in the sand. And you're seeing a lot of people you thought would be on the correct side of history, not for whatever reason. Probably that
it's like
under their desk.
It's like we were like,
huh?
Who would you say?
I mean, I've seen a number of people who were right about COVID and were completely wrong on Israel.
Okay.
The first person to come to. Mm-hmm.
What's his name?
What were you?
The guy who spread who's the IDF person, Brett Weinstein.
Yeah, Brett Weinstein.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
They're fucking maniacs.
Yeah,
and then I see Kim Anderson like siding. I see Kim Anderson kind of like.
I think so. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt.
She's better than I thought she would be.
She tends to like come around with like weighing her options, and so I think
she just tried it. Yeah, she tested it.
I think she's genuinely trying to get the truth, and instead of her like doing what we do and doing our own research and stuff, she kind of like outsources it and gets like her freaking following involved. And so when she's like researching and trying to figure out stuff, she's roping in millions of people into her like kind of thought process. And that's why when she's like on her path to like kind of figuring this shit out, it's it can kind of come across like it did to me a little bit like she was like both sidesing or like creating like disingenuous arguments or taking or like going off of Hasbara and stuff like that. And like she even did a show on the hospital attack, and we all knew right away that Israel had done it, but she kind of like did the benefit of the doubt and did a whole like breaking news show trying to analyze the evidence given by IDF and the open source evidence. And the next day before our other show, she was like, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I generally avoid doing breaking content because like information is so fleeting and comes so fast that we need some time to take care of it. But I don't know. I think she generally has like a pretty good head on her shoulders, even if she doesn't get it right away.
I just got to call it out. So far, Rumble chat is infinitely preferable to YouTube chat. Mad Crab is not wearing pants, showing his mad crabs. Why is Himbo smoking a harmonica? I am indeed smoking a harmonica, by the way. It's a new my buddy Schwab sent me this in the mail. It's made of crickets, I think. Anyway,
yeah, vaporized crickets.
Vaporized crickets.
Just
you know what? If
crickets.
that motherfucker finds a way to do it,
well, they'll have us smoking crickets in a decade or so.
The cannabis is not sustainable.
Yeah, we can't handle the tobacco anymore, so we're going to freaking give you an alternative tobacco, call it like cricket tobacco or something.
They're not even gonna one day we'll go into like is the WEF an op sort of segment, hopefully, but yeah, they're so obvious. It's like Dr. Evil shit. Jesus Christ.
Well, it's like, I saw something. So I learned recently, and I kind of learned because of something Pasta said, but also just sort of kind of being more aware of like that for whatever reason. I'm not saying it's like true or not true or whatever. I'm kind of like open to the possibility of it.
Your possibility.
It's clear that the oligarchs and the people with extreme power do believe in some sort of natural law and or Satanism and magic and stuff like that. So like when somebody like Klaus Schwab says something like, hey, you guys are going to all eat bugs and you're all going to live in cardboard boxes and you're going to love it. Like part of their belief system is in kind of this karmic balance. So they can't just like lie to us. So they'll literally tell you the truth and it will sound heinous and sound terrible. And you'd be like, why are they telling us the truth? It's like, because they have to say the quiet part out loud because they believe in natural law.
Right. So that's lawful evil. So what you're saying is, because I always thought we were ruled by demons, but you're arguing that we're actually ruled by devils. That makes sense. No, demons are chaotic evil. Devils are lawful evil. This is when the watching count goes down to about 2, by the way. You're welcome.
I mean, I can kind of see where you're coming from with that. But yeah, that's my understanding is that like when they're saying the quiet part out loud, it's because it's part of their belief system where they have to like tell you what the evil shit they're doing for the karmic balance.
I get that, but like, what about the 5 million other lies that they just told us?
I don't pretend to know all the in and outs of it. I've just heard that there's like that's part of why.
No, they have a big PR problem.
Huh?
It's a big Israel. They have a big PR problem. It's a.
I thought you said something else.
Yeah, I thought I heard something else too.
They got a big.
What?
They got a big.
What else would it?
A big P.
Big P.
No, PR, public relations. They can't get their shit. And that's the thing. Like, so, is that just what our response is? Is the United States? Do you think the United States is at all concerned with like the public opinion of like how this turns out? If like Israel ends up like fully on genociding Gaza. Do you think that?
Well, no, I don't think so. And like, I think they've already decided that shit's happening. It's just a matter of time.
Do you think the U.S. just gave they just gave them a straight?
I mean, so the way I look at it is
Joe Biden. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that. So they saw what kind of response, how mass formation works with World War II and the Nazis. They saw how it works with COVID. They saw how it works with Ukraine. And they're kind of repeating that process with Israel and Gaza. I mean, look, as long as we've been alive, we've seen what's been going on in Gaza. And granted, I've only really been kind of like a stronger Palestine supporter and understood kind of like what's been going on in that area since about like the March of Return around like 2019 or so. So relatively new. But like they're using the same playbook and they're like, well, if this stuff has already been going on for decades and people are normalized to it, it doesn't for the people who are already drinking all the Kool-Aid and just taking whatever's coming off the TV. If they're told that they're going to turn Gaza into a parking lot to kill a few hundred Hamas soldiers, like, I talked to my parents about this. Like, they're already like enrolled in the idea, and there's no number of amount of Palestinians that will die at the hands of freaking Israel and U.S. rockets that will be some sort of balance. They just want them all gone. So there's no. I don't think it really takes that much of a stretch of imagination for most of these people at this point to just kind of roll with it and just go with it.
I mean, Joseph Robinette Biden admitted this motherfucker's been giving the game out loud for decades. Nobody's been paying attention to it. He literally said, if we didn't have Israel in the Middle East, we'd create an Israel.
Mm-hmm.
He said it
That's
again
why
recently.
they're fine with it.
Yeah,
They
he
need
did say
that
it again
shit.
recently. That's true.
Oh no, come on.
He did. I like. I don't know if we played that last week,
He
but
thinks that's what's crazy to me. Like, these politicians think these are actually good lines to say.
I know.
Well, to be fair with Joe Biden, that could have been like a defrag problem. You know, that hard drive's been corrupt since the 80s.
Pride in there.
He's like, shit, I should have
good.
said that 20 years ago. Fuck. Like he's just like, you know, some of that stuff just comes out, and then later his handlers are like, oh god.
That's the scary people. The scary people are his handlers and the people who surround him, because they're
the ones telling him to say it. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
Listen to
I'm
this
sorry.
guy
Can I be real here? His handlers fucking suck. This guy's shitting and farting all over the place, and like nobody's stopping him. This is the worst. Like this is a bad handler job.
You would think that if you were like a president, like maybe if you were President Xi or Bolsonaro or fucking Putin or any of these other fucking presidents from around the world, you'd see Biden and you'd see he's obviously controlled by handlers, and you'd be like, wow, the U.S. really doesn't have their shit together.
Dude, Putin has literally said it. He's like, this is how the job of every U.S. president happens. The president comes in, and he thinks he's going to do this or that, and then the people in the black suits come in and they sit him down and they tell him he's quoted in saying that.
Fucking Gates, Matt Gates said this in an interview. I think it might have been with Kim Iverson actually, but he was talking about how when he was like a new congressperson and they have the orientation, they take everybody out to like a nice dinner and the 5-star dinner or 3 Michelin star dinner. And when they go inside this restaurant, there's tables set up and there's lobbyists throughout all the tables just ready to fucking appeal to you and be like, oh, you want to have a really smooth sailing career or do you want to have a really short career? So from day one, they're completely targeted and absorbed by lobbyists, and that's the way it is.
Yep.
So
this is why, by the way, I've been saying bourgeois electoralism is fucking useless. Why I've been saying it the whole time. And a lot of people are like,
why we don't really talk about electoralism too much on our show anymore.
No, because it's not gonna matter. The game is rigged.
I heard Jimmy bring up on his show today. Like, there's also like the Iraq protests back like 20 years ago. Those didn't work. And the pro-Palestinian like protests like globally happening today, how much is that going to work?
Well, what's interesting about the protests that's happening, the pro-Palestine protests that are happening, let's also consider that there's something to be said by the fact that these countries where these protests are taking place, like in Canada, like in London, in the UK, like in the United States, they want to criminalize that shit. Like that should tell you that maybe we're past the point of critical mass where there's enough people who are aware of the kind of atrocities that are happening in Gaza that maybe there is legitimate issue from the propaganda machine that's like, oh, too many people know this stuff. It's going to hurt our ability
it's a
to
PR
disseminate propaganda
issue. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, that's spot on.
Yeah.
So what we got here?
Yeah.
Turning the page to what has happened during the fire.
This is Blinken in reaction to
my god,
thousands of kids dying. Let's listen to him.
Following to
Do we want a ceasefire or no? Let's hear it, boy.
Oh, and just responding to
1,000.
Just responding to Extra Bulla the skirt. Her name is Samuel Hyde.
Have been killed in the Gaza Strip during these bombings. Why isn't the U.S. calling for at least a temporary ceasefire?
I like that's mono.
First, Margaret,
It's weird.
Oh, it's in one of my ears.
The stories,
it was like
when I see pictures, of young children who have lost their lives in this conflict.
Look at his eyes for a second.
Whoever they are.
Look at his eyes for a second. That man looks like a fucking...
Dude, he is stressed out.
He looks evil as fuck, man. Look at his eyes. It's just black. I'm sorry. Like I just
like a great white shark. Exactly.
I've learned to trust my instincts as I've gotten older and trust like my eyes. And I don't know. He just looks like a fucking evil motherfucker.
He like goes.
If I had a kid, I'd be like, stay away from this dude. He just looks like a fucker. Stay away from him.
Those are nice.
He looks like he's about to transform and challenge.
He looks like he's about to freaking killing 2 million people.
Those are some Hunter Biden eyes.
Yeah, those are some like.
All right, let's hear what this asshole has to say.
Whether they're Israelis, whether they're Jews or Muslims, it hits me, and I know it hits virtually everyone, right in the heart. And that's why it's so important to do everything possible to protect them, and why it's so important to do everything possible to get assistance to those who need it.
So
Food,
why not
medicine,
ask
water.
for at least a temporary pause in the bombing, as was proposed at the UN this week?
We've seen, first of all, that in order to get assistance in, we've had that happen, and you saw the first 20 trucks go in yesterday. I expect more will follow today, and the day after that. We want to make sure that we have sustained delivery of food, medicine, water, the things that people need. At the same time, I said something a minute ago that we have to remember. Israel has to do everything it can to make sure this doesn't happen again. Freezing things in place where they are now would allow Hamas to remain where it is and to repeat what it's done sometime in the future. No country could accept that.
So what do they need to get done exactly?
What's that?
What do they need to get done exactly?
So I kind of have a working theory where these fucking people in power just basically want to destroy our planet, our country. I think it's because it's like
demolition, isn't it?
Well, like we have to have like our war budget is 50% of our GDP, so we always have to be in a state of war, or else like our economy basically tanks.
Yep.
And we can't win wars. Okay, so our wars are never fruitful.
It's not that the West can't win wars; it's that they don't want to, because you win the war's over. The gravy train dries up.
Yeah.
Right?
I would agree with that, and so. But I think it's just when you have a war machine as big as ours, as responsible for how much of the budget it is, these guys are always going to be for war, and it's at the point where it's actually antagonizing our country more than it ever has in the past, because we can't recover from running multiple wars. Like we got Ukraine going right now, which, I mean, knock on glass, saves your ass. Like, hopefully it's winding down. But then we also got what's going on in Israel, and I saw something today that it looks like maybe U.S. ground forces are going into Gaza, which means that Iran's involved, Lebanon's involved, Syria's involved, everybody's involved. And then before this even started, and while Ukraine was going on, you had fucking conservatives talking about getting ready for war with China in 2025. So I don't know. Like, it seems to me that 2 wars were already fucked. 3 wars, it's like, okay, are we just waiting to be liberated at this point? Like, what's going on here?
Well, how likely are we to go into regional war, would you say?
100%.
It's like
100%.
See,
I have no doubt that we'll be in.
But okay, so here's the thing. Lebanon does not have any money. I think if Hezbollah starts something with Israel, I don't think the Lebanon government is going to be kind of okay, unless Iran is backing them. I don't know.
I mean, but Lebanon kicks freaking Israel's ass.
Israel can beat the IDF. They can beat them. They did it before.
I think you were going to say something.
Yeah,
Brad.
So here's my my kind of theory, my personal theory about what's going on right now and why we're seeing so many saber rattling, plate spinning sort of antics when it comes to war. I think the ruling class is very well aware that the propaganda didn't work. I think with shit like COVID, that was their shot at doing the great clampdown and transitioning over to stakeholder capitalism. It's totally not the same thing.
I agree. I agree with where you're going with that.
And I think we're seeing the equivalent of a tantrum, because now that they can't do the clampdown, now that they can't facilitate into their like cyberpunk 2027 cosplay
the neo-feudal
that they're
shit
trying,
that we're all anticipating.
Yeah. Now that they can't do that, they have to create essentially a disaster that is going to force them to usher that in. So yeah, like Greg said, the controlled demolition is very probable, because then they can come in as the supposed saviors.
And that's Hegelian dialectic right there. So I mean, you're basically suggesting, and I would agree with that like they have to create some sort of chaos, and then they're going to use that chaos to clamp down with some authoritarian shit. And like the thing is that I was thinking about this yesterday. Like they could kind of like destroy the country, and what's left is just the oligarchs, and then they get their feudalist world that they've wanted. Gates owns all the farmland. Like they can build from a handful of oligarchs.
The restrictions on travel too. That's going to be really scary once they start breaking out the IDs and stuff like that.
Well, and that's also interesting, because that's a psyop in and of itself. They're just driving in the fear, like, oh, better not travel. Like you saw that stuff. Like, who's going to Lebanon anyway? Like, don't go to Lebanon. Like, no shit, Sherlock.
I'm going to tell people I'm moving to China just to piss off conservatives.
Yeah, but are they telling people not to go to Israel? Maybe they shouldn't go to Israel.
But I always thought that, a lot of these elites would just like eventually like jump ship, like once all of this crashes to the ground.
Their money is in U.S. money. So like, assuming everything goes to shit, I would assume that they'd have to have some sort of plan so that their money still has value, so they can be the rulers of this new neo-feudal order that they envision.
Yeah, but here's the thing: why do you need money if you control the land? You control all the.
Oh, that's true.
You control all the water. We've seen that in the propaganda lately.
It's funny you say that, because I was watching Yanis Varoufakis, and he talks a lot about neo-feudalism and stuff. And he's basically like, you have places like Amazon and Walmart and stuff like that are their own kind of internal markets in and of themselves. So they don't even necessarily need like a currency. Like Bezos, he doesn't necessarily need a currency. If he's like the market, then he can just coerce everybody to use it, and that's the end of it. And he's his own monopoly.
Yeah, think about this. Think about this for a second. Just everybody picture this. Everybody in the chat picture this for a second. We're back in the heat of the pandemic. All the small businesses are closed. The only thing that's open is big box stores like Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you said some wrong thing online, you naughty fucker, you. And now you can't go to Walmart for 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
Suspended on YouTube.
Yeah, that's actually going to happen.
That's where I think they're going. And I think a lot of this shit that they're testing out in recent years is guiding us towards that direction, where they have so much control that it's like, oh, you have a problem with this current narrative that we're peddling? Well, guess what? You're not getting food this week.
Well, it's funny because it's like where people like to kind of do the like anti-China like social credit thing, and it's like, we already have social credit in the United States.
We have a capitalist social credit.
Like, we're already like, if you don't have an 800 credit score, you're blocked out from like 75% of the stuff that like helps you move forward in this society.
Exactly.
Like,
we have a credit score that's literally like, if you're poor, fuck you. It's literally like you're lesser. If you have a lower credit score, you are objectively, and this cannot be argued, you are a lower class citizen.
It really is kind of a tiered system. It really is a tiered system. That's true. I just thought of that while we were saying.
We already have we have our own version of a social credit score.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's all based on like not being poor, because of course if you're poor, you failed in this fucking hellscape. And
Yeah,
everyone's like, but China has a... Well, you know what? Unlike this dumpster fire, they actually lifted a shitload of people out of poverty. So if we're gonna both have social credit systems regardless, I'd rather have the one where like I'm not worried about...
Yeah, at least I get my rent is only $150 a month.
Yeah,
like at least I have free healthcare. Like at least I'm not...
that would be great.
Like at this point, what's the difference? It's
yeah, it's like
I think about any like anti-China talking point at this point right now, and think about any anti-China talking point. Like, oh well, in China, you get shit on if you say the wrong stuff online. Oh really? Because I'm a member of INN, and I got news for you. I'm in the West, and that happened anyway. So
we talk about violating right thing all the time. So
it's
like
it's all the time.
There's no difference now. It's just like...
Do you ever feel like, and this is like primarily, I guess, like, you know, the centrist like topic here, but like, how are you communicating with other people? Just like carrying all this in your head and knowing that like we're headed to a third world war. We're headed into, you know, we're witnessing a genocide in front of our eyes. I talked to a friend last weekend. I was like, you know, there's a genocide right now, going on right now, right?
By the way,
no. We were like, it was like sort of came up in conversation, and she was like,
there's nothing back in our currency, right?
Blah blah blah. Israel. She's like, she's aware of like the Palestine situation. So I'm like, I'm like, you know, there's a genocide going on right now, right? She's like, yeah, and I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. And that's what that's what the majority of like what people I know. That's how they reacted.
So, and that's kind of why
no, blah, 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 blah. They shut it out, and no one wants to talk. No one wants to have these conversations, and that's the only reason why I do a show probably is to let this shit out and like actually like have like a, you know, an intellectual like processing of all this. Because
I mean, I've definitely talked to you about that, where it's like this show is definitely an outlet for me because like, you know, that's why over the years, especially since like COVID, I was like, oh, liberalism is just a form of nihilism. And they kind of just, I forget the exact wording, but basically liberalism is about an appreciation of suffering without actually doing anything about it. It's like the meme where you see it's like the hand goes out to help the person who's drowning in the water. And it's like, oh, psych. You know, like, so.
I can't talk about
I never thought of that.
I can't talk about any of this shit with like, well, maybe like some friends, but like I can't talk about any of this shit like on like dates or something. Like this is not something that like people want to be talking about ever, which is like, not a good thing.
No, it's not a good thing, and it's kind of like why I was saying it was like nihilism is like they don't actually care about the stuff that's important, and they'd rather just be like, but we have people who are gay, and we have people who can wear dresses who aren't women. Like, what's your problem? And they just miss the forest for the trees when their own liberalism like kind of actually creates a lot of antagonisms. They just reject that stuff.
I never thought of that before though. Neoliberalism is like Kafka from Final Fantasy VI. God damn.
Wait, elaborate on that.
Well, because Kafka from Final Fantasy VI was a famous nihilist. His whole villain arc, which is why I personally think he was brilliant as a villain, because they don't really use this a lot, outside from like the Joker and shit, was that he kind of, his take was basically like, why create anything when you know it's going to be destroyed? Why cling to life when you're just going to die? Nothing will matter once you do anyway.
Yikes.
Yeah, he was a great villain. He was the only villains in video game history to actually destroy the world. He destroyed the world, and then you had to beat him after.
He actually did it. He actually went through with it.
Yeah, he fucked up the whole world, and you're just like trying to make your way through like this apocalyptic world, knowing that the bad guy already won. So like, it's kind of a half-ass victory anyway.
That's what life feels like right now. That's what life feels like.
We're watching the villains win, and we're just like, oh, there's nothing we can do.
We're running away.
Watch it happen.
But I feel like insane saying that to a person in real life. But why is that? Why is that?
Cultural
I'm
hegemony.
interested sort of like if you can like bring in like your psychological perspective on this and like how You know.
Yes.
Just like that too.
Yes. Well, no, I'm not. I'm not going to bring us down to -3 watching. It's okay. No, so there's different factors here. Hey, I could do it even worse. I could be saying things from a psychological. No. So there's myriad factors going on right here. Number one, okay, the reason why we feel like we can't just talk about this with friends and family is because human beings are, at the end of the day, social animals. We are tribal animals, and one of the most petrifying things, regardless of whether or not you like to admit it or not, we all have to admit it and own our humanity here. One of our most petrifying things is being cast out from the tribe, and that's ingrained in us. It's programmed because we're social animals. We have tribes. We have groups of people. One human has never accomplished anything other than completely dissect capitalism, but that's another conversation. Shout out to my man Carl. But yeah, one person doesn't accomplish a lot. A whole group of people, well, we build buildings, we tank the economy. Sorry.
We destroy other economies.
We destroy other people's economies. We send billions to other countries. Wow. That's. Do you like how I'm contradicting the point I'm trying to make? I'm a huge fan of that. No, but like my central point here to people who can keep up with how advanced my ADHD is we're terrified of being cast out of the tribe. And we all feel this. That's the thing. We all feel this. Unless you're like a sociopath, we all feel this. We're like, oh no, I don't want everyone to like shun me and for me to be alone and not have anybody to work with. That's the most human feeling of all time. And it's one of the feelings that we try and hide all the time, that we don't need that. We do need it. Even those weird lone wolf, like libertarian people in their truck, they need that too, because that's why they're doing those videos on YouTube from their truck.
Yeah, exactly.
But we all need that. So we have that innate like tribalistic mind where it's like, that's why it's like, oh, I probably shouldn't say that. I don't want to get shunned. But there's a hack to that, and I'd like everybody to try it. All you have to do is create whatever you're talking about, regardless of like how like against the tribe it is. You just need to frame it in a way that your tribe can relate to it. And that's it. So, for example, a lot of my tribe were your standard Canadians, also known as shitlibs. Also, our conservatives are also shitlibs. They're just different shit. We just have a mountain of shitlibs and exactly one Marxist. I think I know him. Anyway, so in my example, right, when I stood out against mandates, vaccine mandates, and I stood against them on principle from day one. The way I created a connection was I went back to the my body, my choice argument, where it's like, hey, you remember when you were like really offended that like, conservatives were like trying to take away abortion for your friend in the States? You remember that? Like, I kind of feel the same way. I feel like people should have autonomy over their own body. And you can do that for any issue. And this issue right here, this issue with Palestine right here, easiest connection. Hey, where are the weapons of mass destruction? No, it's not the same thing. Is this not going on in the Middle East right now? Okay. And then if they don't believe you, you just hit them with that okay stinky.
I mean, well, isn't the corollary literally South Africa? We had a problem, or like freaking. What I see a lot of people making the corollary is with, like the slave revolts and Nat Turner and stuff. It's like, well, like that shit was bloody, but we didn't want slaves anymore, right? And so it's kind of like, I don't know, trying to frame it. I get what you're saying, trying to frame it in a way where liberals went for it last time. So what's the difference this time?
So,
or just creating like it's just kind of coaxing empathy. That's the whole point. You're just trying to get them to be like, oh, I feel really strongly about this. I didn't make the connection that how you feel about
or making
this.
them realize that they have to like double down on their mental gymnastics.
Yeah, that, or just like threatening them with hypocrisy, which is something nobody likes. Let's be fair. If I have to play hardball, I'll play hardball. I'll infer strongly.
Save that for a debate, bro.
Yeah, I'll infer strongly that I'm about to call you a fucking hypocrite. If that's going to get the job done. But most of the time, you can just foster that connection by showing how you caring about this issue is the same about them caring about that issue, or pretending to care about that issue, which is about 99% of everybody, but that's okay. You know, that's
morally consistent.
Moral consistency also, and just kind of also explaining to people, like, at the end of the day, how it's morally consistent. I feel like a lot of us kind of have a bit of a problem sometimes, like explaining the how of why it's like moral consistency.
Because everything through like historical materialism always takes a huge fucking discussion. I feel like trying to give background. Hey, like, when did the Ukraine war start? No, it didn't start in February 22. Well, let me explain to you. You got fucking 30 minutes. Let me go ahead and explain to you what happened. You know, it's like,
that's sort of like where I wanted to ask, like, what would you say to people like for instance, like my friend who she did vote for Bernie. She's like, sort of awake, but she purposely just like chooses to turn it off. My sister is like this too, where like they're on the right side of the issue, where like they're pro-Palestine, yes, they're aware that Israel is a genocidal state, but they would rather just pretend it's not happening and just go about their daily lives instead of actually saying or talking about it.
Well, what's that quote? First really, they came for the communists and I said nothing, and then they came for then they came for me and nobody helped me because there was no one there or something like that. I forget that quote, but
hold on, I'll read it because I think it would be poignant.
I mean, like going back to what I was saying earlier about where I've been watching a lot of people like fucking Norm Finkelstein and freaking Ali Ubanima and these people who have made their entire lives around Palestine saying not done enough. They're like, need to find a hill to die on, need to find that red line. Like, are we like, how are you going to feel when Gaza City is a parking lot and like 1 million children are dead? Like, are you going to feel like you did enough talking on a mic? Like, if that's like what we can do, that's what we can do. But I think we need to decide where, like, how are we going to feel when Gaza's like half the size it is right now? How are we going to feel about that?
Well, as a Canadian, I can just say, don't worry, because in 50 years, my parliament will clap for you. No.
This is us coping right now. This is
this is our version of cope.
This is our version.
This is literally our cope. Yeah, this is our cope.
Tonight I was planning on drinking heavily and crying.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we're all depressed, stressed out.
I'll read the whole
we
thing.
Literally, like, I told Greg, I was like, it's been too much news for the last 2 weeks. I've just been like crying every day. We need to fucking switch it up and just kind of like talk out a little bit of what we've been experiencing, because it's just, as you've seen, like, we're all having the same thing. We're all like having really hard time communicating with anybody outside the internet. We're not like,
but everything feels so high stakes because it's like,
because it is.
It is frustration. It's
it is because
it's like you can't,
guys.
There's got to be
think about it like,
think
about it like this: if they manage to manufacture consent for a fucking genocide over there, just think for a bit. Think for a second.
Just take it to its conclusion.
If they get away with that, what the fuck do you think? Because these people are psychopaths, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about
what else can I get away with?
The 15-minute cities, and we've talked about the little shacks that they're gonna put everybody in. Like, we've had multiple shows talking about that shit. Like, it's not gonna take much for them to be like, oh yeah, we just remember, like, we had the freaking show where we were talking about the freaking little huts that they have the gas hookups to.
Yep.
Like we're already there. We're already there.
It's not gonna be long before they're gonna be saying the Neuralink chip is safe and effective.
Oh my god.
My brain swells with pride.
I think I saw that they're actually doing human testing on that now, but
miss me with
that. Good luck finding a human.
I don't even care if it's safe and effective. I'm done on principle. You lost me. Before we continue, I'd just like to read this out to anybody who, again, like Greg's sister, who's kind of like,
What? Share your screen, or are you able to do that on here?
I have no idea how to do that, Greg.
So the little you see next to the video icon,
time. Okay.
There's a screen with an arrow on it. There's a little like
Okay, hold on.
Oh,
I didn't know I was able to share my
Or just
screen.
read it if it's short.
Or just
okay.
or just read it.
To anybody who's like Greg's sister and is like, I just don't want to think about it, blah blah blah. First, they came for the communists, and I didn't speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. And then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. And I just like to add a little addendum at the end, and then the communists came for them. So I like to wrap it up in a happy ending because it actually fucking happened.
I get that, but I mean, it's definitely a truism. I would agree with that, and that's kind of like, I think everybody just needs to decide where the line is, because like I'm kind of at the point where I've already put in my head the idea where it's only a matter of time before half of Gaza's gone. So like we're literally going to see. Like, remember the Chiron where they showed everybody who got fucking COVID and all the people who were dying, and like on freaking mainstream media where they were telling all the cases and they were showing those crazy numbers? We're going to see fucking numbers that are going to blow our minds with how many people are dying on a daily basis in Gaza when they start doing airstrikes. That like the level of normalization when people are like, oh, 10,000 people died today, or 10,000 casualties today over like airstrikes in Gaza City. Like people are just going to be tuned out to it.
Anti-Semite is the new anti-vaxxer. Like it's just they always have. I did a video on this called Narrative Management for those who haven't seen it. It's on Rumble now, so feel free to check it out. But it basically says like they always have the same fucking play when it comes to propaganda. There's an in group, there's an out group, there's no nuance allowed. And if you don't agree with the narrative thing, then you're placed in the out group and you're given a label. And it could be anti-vaxxer or Putin puppet or
anti-Semite.
Back in the day, it was unpatriotic, anti-American when it came to the shit with the Middle East, or in the future, I don't know, anti-pod, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Anti-graft your head onto a robotic giraffe or some shit. I don't know what they're cooking up, but it's always the same play. It's always, and we're seeing it now as well. Not to mention, like, go look up the word Semite, what it means. Go look up what Semitic is.
Yeah, they're Arab Semites, so
yeah, like
doesn't really make too much sense.
You'll have some Eureka shit for sure. Here it is.
Oh, nice. The little field manual, the CIA simple field manual or whatever it's called.
I thought this is what they gave the Twitter left before the Rage Against the War Machine rally, but my bad.
And it's funny because I like freaking internalize this. So when I see, before I even know if something's a psyop or something, I'll be like, this guy sounds like an op, or this guy sounds like a fucking, like, just either they're an op or willfully ignorant or just like stupid.
That's why I just leave it at doing Fed work. It covers all the bases, because if you're a Fed, obviously you're doing Fed work, and if you're willfully ignorant, then you're doing Fed work as well. It's a broad spectrum where you're just like, hey, dude, you're doing Fed work. Why are you doing Fed work? And it's like,
it's really. I'm gonna take that.
Nobody wants to Fed work anymore.
Just be like, stop doing Fed work. I've got a meme for it.
Stop doing Fed work.
It's Spider-Man doing the psst, and it's like, psst, you're doing Fed work. And I just drop that down and just cop jacket everybody, and that's how I do Twitter.
Better safe than sorry that way.
Better safe than glowy, right? Got him. Anyway, yeah, this is something everybody needs to read, because a lot of people are going to come off. A lot of people you're confused by, suddenly you're gonna be like, oh.
Well, it's like the precise wording thing. I see that shit all the fucking time.
Like
remember, like even with the freaking Nazis, the Nazi Yaroslav Honka, you saw people doing Fed work with like trying to be like, well, not all Nazis are bad, or after freaking 90 years, we shouldn't worry about this guy. It's not like he was waffing or anything.
We should forgive the Nazis. It's been enough time.
Like just
meanwhile, those same people will shit on Scott Ritter all day long and not realize the hypocrisy. So
Yeah, and the not to get too much in the weeds with that, but like this, apparently the stuff with Scott Ritter was like frivolous bullshit anyway. Like it was wasn't he basically set up?
He didn't do anything. He didn't touch.
From what I know,
but it was my understanding the chat was
it
was
the
a fed.
prime.
I am by no means an expert on this matter. I don't know a lot about it. From what I understand, this is a dude that just got honeypotted conveniently around the exact time that he was saying very controversial things about the military-industrial complex and narrative. So, I mean, draw your own conclusions. We'll never know.
It's a good summation of what happened. Yeah.
I will say though that at the end of the day, you should not be bickering over fucking Scott Ritter. Okay, find a life, touch some grass.
I mean, look, he was like completely right. He was like, he's nailed it with Ukraine. And I didn't know, and I didn't even know that he had a lot of knowledge with Palestine and Gaza and stuff. So when I heard his taste, I was like, oh wow, he knows his shit with this stuff too. Awesome.
Listen, I'll make an example, okay? I can't stand Lars Ulrich, but I love Ride the Lightning. I think it's a sick album. So
you can separate the artist from their freaking shitty political takes. Like look at freaking Rage Against the Machine.
Look at all of them. Look at James Hetfield standing with Ukraine. Even though none of these people, like, they're all like, their brains are already soup, right? So.
That's part of it. It's like you can't get to that level of fame and not kind of be turned into like kind of somebody who appreciates that mode of production, all that stuff.
Well, at some point you just, a lot of these artists start as a hungry proletariat and they end as, a comfy bougie. So, it's just a matter of like their priorities change. That's not an issue for them anymore because it's not going to affect them. So
yeah, well, I guess it also means we can't really blame them necessarily for changing. Although I guess like the worst example of this is probably Jay-Z, who like, dude sold crack, dude was like poor as fuck, and now he's fucking Illuminati. Like, thanks, Jay. You really are like a shiny beacon for people to aspire to.
Dude, the conspiracy theories surrounding Jay-Z are incredible. Them analyzing like
Beyonce,
the hand signs
like,
he's doing.
They're both just evil motherfuckers. But
that's what happens when you lose touch with humanity.
Well,
also known as acquiring too much.
I told one thing about this situation is like you come out of this realizing you have a roof over your head, you have food and electricity and water, and you're like kind of grateful for shit that you see the shit that's happening online, and you just.
Well, I'd argue it's a good formula to see how wealth erodes your capacity for empathy, because you see the same formula where it's like, all of a sudden, oh my God, you don't care about your fellow working class people at all. You're just kind of going with party lines. It's because it's the eternal "fuck you, I got mine" shit.
Well, okay,
they just stop LARPing.
It's not just that; it's like you always want more too. Like when you get in when you get in that mindset of just like trying to get like.
I have a couple things to say that if we're going in this direction. So yeah. If we're going to go into this little, so I actually had a quote to go with this, but Greg, if you look in the private chat, or was there something else that you were going to on standby that you wanted to show? Because I put something in the.
Not really.
Okay. So to kind of go with what you were saying, there's actually a great, because we do quote Marx a little bit over here. There was that one on the same vein of kind of the accumulation of capital. Before we go into this video, Marx had a great quote where he said, "The less you eat, drink, and read books, the less you go to the theater, the dance hall, the public house, the less you think, love, theorize, sing, paint, fence, etc. The more you save, the greater becomes your treasure, which neither moths nor dust will devour your capital. The less you are, the more you have. The less you express your own life, the greater is your alienated life. The greater is the store of your estranged being." No, it's a little wordy, but basically Marx is saying the more you try and accumulate wealth, the less of a person you kind of become.
Which one is that from?
Estranged manuscripts or something like that. I'll have to get it to you.
Yeah, it's one of the obscure ones. I remember I made a meme out of it.
But
Actually,
Engels also had a similar one too, which was accumulation of wealth at one pole is therefore at the same time accumulation of misery, agony of toil, slavery, ignorance, brutality, mental degradation at the opposite pole. So it's like the idea that, you know, in capitalism, it's not like we can get rid of poverty. Poverty is a feature of capitalism. It's not something that's there by accident.
It's manufactured. It's completely fake.
Yeah.
We wouldn't even have to be. We have the money. We could just print it and solve.
we could, but then we wouldn't have capitalism anymore. But this Gen Z, I saw this video today, and this I didn't start to feel like this until COVID happened, and working in sales kind of fucked my head, but she gets it. And this girl like 21, 22.
Internship can't fathom working for the rest of their life.
The original creator turned his stitches off for some reason, even though he asked a question, but I think we need to talk about this because I am a Gen Zer who got her first corporate in-office adult 9-to-5 job this year. And I was actually really excited about it because it was a marketing position in a healthcare company, so I thought it was going to be really great. And I get that the company itself ended up being horribly toxic, but I also made the decision within only 4 months of working there that if I had to do this corporate drone thing for the rest of my life, because I did the math, you couldn't retire in this economy, I just would rather clock out eternally. There were people in their 40s at the company making the same amount of money as me, still in the same struggling to get by position, and I was like, is this is it? This is life? Because I would rather just tap out right now. And I tried to keep pushing through with blind optimism, but it was so soul crushing that 9 months in, I just had to wake up and be like, hey, is this the life you want to keep living? And the answer was no, I don't want to do this. So I had to leave for my own health reasons, ironically. And I've sadly been happier doing odd jobs here and there, struggling to pay bills and just living life and having fun. And everyone keeps asking, what's your plan? What are you going to do? I don't know what the plan is, but I know if I have to go back to that corporate in-office 9-to-5, I won't be alive a year from that date. So say whatever you want about Gen Z, but we're just finally putting our foot down about this corporate lifestyle, where you waste most of your life sitting in an office doing little to nothing. I would rather just get my work done on my time and then get to go live my life. Gen Z, to their core, takes the motto, work to live, do not live to work, very seriously. And if corporations don't start understanding that, it's just gonna keep getting worse for everybody.
Based.
Yeah, so wait until she starts reading Capital, but
well, it is just gonna keep getting worse, isn't it?
Spoiler alert, she's dating Harry Sisson.
There's always something. Yeah, it's always going to be a white girl that's saying this.
I just think it. I think it's I
remember working at getting it.
I was working at a call center when COVID happened, and I was fine, didn't care at all, and was pretty much just worried about my family and my own paycheck, and doing sales. You can't really worry about what's happening on the other end of the line. What other shit the person's going through. But then once COVID happened and everybody was sent home, contrary to the belief now where people weren't sent home because that actually happened. People were I can't afford my electricity anymore. I can't afford my cell phone anymore. I can't afford my gas anymore. I can't afford my groceries anymore. And you want me to buy television service at $200 a month? Fuck you. So it was okay, start getting those calls 20, 30 times a day. It was starting to fuck with my head before I started to wake up.
Really? I didn't hear that part. I haven't heard that part.
Dude, I used to work for Dish.
You got a bunch of calls like that?
Dude, I used to work at Dish, and it was easy money. So I worked in retention, so it was people who wanted to cancel service.
I did telemarketing too, but I didn't. But it was for some charity or something like that.
Yeah, I've done that before.
It was nonprofit.
No, most of my good sales experience was in call centers and stuff like that, and so it's I spent all this time getting good at this trade that is actually really antagonizing, and then it sort of clicked for me during COVID, and I was I can't go back to this shit. And I could fucking get a job right now that pays me at least fucking 65 to over 100 a year because it's commission, but I can't. it's too much to be on the other end of like. I tried to work at Spectrum last year. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that freaking internet company. I think you might have it in New York. But I had the same job at Spectrum, and the first day on the floor, I was having the same conversations I was having with people during COVID, and I was like relating to people. I was like, okay, I can't do this shit. Fuck this.
Yeah.
And I was told I was like the number one guy in training. They're like, you're gonna make 80K, no problem. And I was like, no, fuck this.
See, the key nowadays, just a tip, if you have those like skills, those like CX plus like sales sort of skills, you got to get into customer success. That's where it's at.
Hey man, what it like? I hear that's what you do, right?
Yep.
I thought you needed. Okay, maybe we'll talk more about that because I have a hard time doing the sales stuff now because like I empathize with the person on the other end of the line now.
No,
which is like a tragedy if you're in sales, but
no, that's the problem. That's why you got to go more into the empathetic part of it, where it's like, oh, I'm just gonna help you. I'm gonna help you be happy. I'm gonna help make you happy. Not like I'm gonna try and convince you need to spend money on a product that I know you don't fucking need because I'm in the same boat as you are, wondering if I'm gonna be able to afford groceries next week. Like, that's a shitty gig. I've had that gig too. My first job, I was selling. Oh, here we go. My first job was Burger King, but before that, it was trying to sell knives to people. Yeah, exactly. It was Cutco.
Oh my god!
Fucking multi-level market. I've been in a few of those, man.
That's in Canada too.
Yeah. Oh,
didn't Cutco start in Canada?
I think so.
But, I know a guy from my hometown. He's like a manager at that place. He's like the chain.
Dude,
you like hired.
You can shit on that company all you like, but I swear to God, that one knife from Cutco lasted me like.
No, that's what I've heard. Is like those knives fucking work and they freaking last forever. It's like the Kirby vacuums, like those Kirby vacuums. They're like the silver ones, and like it's all door to door. It's a multi-level market, but apparently those vacuums are actually amazing.
wait, they have a vacuum named Kirby?
Yeah, Kirby vacuums. Like they're the old. It's an MLM.
Wait, did they name the?
I know it's like the video game. I think maybe I'm getting it wrong, but I thought it was Kirby vacuums. But
Kirby, hold on, let's look.
Maybe I'm just having like subconscious like wires are crossed thing, but I thought it was Kirby vacuums.
No, it's okay. No, Kirby vacuum. Kirby's best vacuum cleaner.
But yeah, they're only sold by door to door. It's a multi-level market, and apparently they're really high quality too.
I think I heard about that back in the day, though, like that door-to-door vacuum salesman shit.
It's been around forever. Like I've never had one. I've never had an agent like come up to my house or anything, but they've been around forever.
That must be really awkward in like really deeply conservative areas. It's like, hey, please don't shoot me. I'm just trying to sell you a vacuum.
I mean, at this point, I think that company has been around for so long that I don't even know if that's part of their business model anymore. But like I've known people who have done Amway. I've known people who have done all sorts of different multi-level markets of various degrees of success. But
just look it up and they're like crypto.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you guys don't mind, I'd just like to mention a couple things that I had down for the discussion tonight. Just because, we did this partially because we know that everybody's kind of going through a tough fucking time right now. It's hard not to. This is like one of the worst times in the world for anybody with a modicum.
And everybody is. It's not like nobody. There's one person who's fine. It's like you talk to most people. Most people are going through it, whether they're like actively participating in politics or not. They get what's going on. They know there's terrible shit happening everywhere.
Yeah, I've heard it from everybody. Like this is like everybody's just kind of opening their eyes to the atrocities of the world. And for a lot of people, it's causing a lot of distress because a lot of people have lived in a bubble for a while. I'll admit myself that for a while, for the first part of my adulthood, I lived in a bubble myself, where I was just like, what? I'm comfortable in the self-delusion. It's comfy. It's nice. Ignorance is bliss, all that. So I just wanted to make a couple of quick recommendations for anybody who is kind of going through a rough time right now. The first one I'd recommend is I know a lot of us feel helpless right now. I definitely fucking do. I want to like raise an army and go over there and, stop the fascists from doing some bullshit, but,
let's join Hamas.
You're gonna be the first person to get banned on Rumble for.
Let's join Hamas. The absolute madman.
You really like testing the waters.
You know what? No, I'm for this. This is a good test. If this is really the free speech platform, then
I support it. Let's join. Let's sign me up, baby. Come on.
We love the jabs. Let's join Hamas.
Oh my god.
That would be the most confusing YouTube decision of all time.
God.
It's like, wait a minute, but they're okay with this one, but they're not. What are we doing here?
Are they with the current thing? They're not with the current thing.
Okay, it's one current thing versus against one current thing. The current things are canceling each other out. I think we need to just give them a warning. I think that's how it works.
You just broke the algorithm. Maybe we can say shit like Israel deserves to burn and get destroyed.
But get your jab.
But also the jab is safe and effective. And then the algorithm catches it and they're like, it's
just no
Well, yeah, because like everybody needs to know, like no human is making these fucking calls. This is a robot. Hey gamer. This is a fucking robot that's making
Well, that's kind of what I was telling you earlier. Like as far as the appeal process goes, it's pretty much automated.
Yeah, like and that's why some of these are so weird where it's like, wait, what the fuck did I get banned for that? What? It's because like just go to ChatGPT and just like talk to it for a while and all of a sudden it's gonna stop making sense. And that's where we are with AI. And unfortunately the capitalists are just thinking that's good enough to fucking work. And I can't wait until this reaches its inevitable conclusion.
That's why Israeli intelligence sucks so bad too, because they rely on this tech and they just sit on their fat thumbs and they say,
because nobody realizes it's not ready. It's obviously not ready. Talk to ChatGPT. After 5 minutes, it's going to be telling you like you have to add olives into your chocolate chip cookie recipe. Like, it's fucked. This is not ready.
I'm almost certain that like the Gaza border strip is like patrolled by AI bots, by AI.
Well, wasn't that kind of what Ritter was saying, that they over rely on AI so much that they probably game the system or hack the system, and that's one of the ways that they were able to subvert it.
That was part
I heard that too, but I also heard that unfortunately, because it is AI, they are currently in Brazil. So, like, I wouldn't be surprised where it's like, wait, why are they over there?
I mean, it would make. I mean, and then at that point, I would assume if Hamas doesn't have the infrastructure to hack freaking Israel, then that was probably done by Iran or Lebanon. But that's kind of why.
That, like, it's scary to think that everybody's trying to rely on this AI, and maybe it's like just scuffed, and we're like about to witness like the biggest like societal collapse in history because like this AI is like 26 memory leaks and like 4 array errors, and nobody's picking it up.
It's like what's the you see all the movies where they talk about how dangerous AI is, and what's always the thing that they always are worried about, that AI is going to determine that humans are like dangerous and they're just going to kill off everybody.
Yeah, like that's that was a theme. I don't know if anybody ever played the Fallout 4 expansion. I forget, it was like with robots, Automaton or something. But there's a good example of that in there, wherein they program a robot to basically say like how to keep the humans safe, right? And the robot determines the best way to keep humans safe is just to kill them, because that would be the least amount of suffering. And we've seen enough of those movies where it's like, what's the best thing for humankind? Well, realistically,
to end humankind.
Yeah, exactly. That's always the conclusion. I have a different fear. I don't think it's going to get dangerous. I think it's going to be really fucking incompetent, and that's going to be way more dangerous. Because we're going to start relying on this for like really important things. Like just think of ChatGPT and then think like, oh, I'm going in for open heart surgery. Oh, okay.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like like
So
think of the
okay, that's funny
possibility.
you say that, because one thing that I've been noticing, and actually it kind of drives me crazy. So like I fucking hate emojis, okay? And I especially hate them because emojis on an iPhone look different than emojis on an Android, and sometimes emojis on an Android look different than emojis on another Android. So if you're trying to communicate something through emojis, it's not even really communicating anything, because multiple people, like different devices, see different things. So to your point, I think they're not only trying to make us less literate, but they're trying to basically, like, emojis are kind of a form of like newspeak, like trying to kind of condense our language and make it so like, oh, we're going to take this whole array of human emotions and condense it into this one little circle with a smiley face, and you're supposed to know what that means.
Yo,
To me, it adds
guys,
to a statement.
real talk, the Egyptians had it right the whole fucking time. And we
know.
just slept on it. We slept on it. They're just like, yeah, just do like pictures sequentially. Yeah, we're good. And we're all like, yeah, let's make up letters because we're
We made it so complicated for what? Why?
I don't know. I don't know.
All the
All I
letters
know,
and the synonyms and the
and I'm sitting here trying to learn German, and I'm just fuck. Couldn't learn French as a kid, so now I'm like locked out of like half the jobs available for Canadians because we need to just simp for this one province that is foul smelling.
So what? So French is still like a pretty important language to learn because of Quebec.
Dude, you can legitimately make more money if you're bilingual, just for French. No other language. French. Yeah.
That's so funny, because as soon as you hit the border, like, I mean, more opportunities open up if you can speak Spanish.
I would rather learn Spanish because I studied Latin in high school, and that's way easier to pick up. If you've studied Latin, like, Spanish is really easy because you're like, oh, I know that word. Oh, I know that word. Oh, I know that word. But French, it's just this weird clusterfuck of just depression and Cheetos, and I don't like it.
They don't even like the West. They don't even like Americans anyway.
And I mean, where outside, there's not too many countries outside of France where French is used as much as Spanish or different dialects are used outside of like Spain. What happened to Greg? He just disappeared.
Feds got him. Guys, you saw it here. The feds got him.
The feds got him. It was that line about wanting to be recruited by Hamas.
They found him. They're like, we got
just
him.
like that.
We found the last guy that escaped out those tunnels. See, this is what you get, Greg.
I'm okay, guys. I didn't get Clinton. I didn't get Clinton.
You mentioned Hamas.
Now you're sus, man.
I know what they replaced you.
Did you see that thing with Jose too?
What about him getting dragged out when he was calling out
Clinton? That was so based. Oh my god, that was based.
Yeah, and people like that. It's like the thing is like, why are people booing him? Why were people boo? I don't understand that. Like, okay, you're booing him as he's being dragged out for asking a good question. Like, what? Oh, plug my ears. I don't want to hear these things. Too many truths. Too many truths.
You know what though? I will admit this myself. I remember booing someone who did something like that in my early 20s. And yeah, I booed them, but you know what I did afterwards? I sat home and thought about it. And that's the point. Doesn't matter what the boos are. At some point, you're gonna think about that point they made. And that's like that's what kind of changed me on COVID. Because originally at the very start of COVID, I was like, okay, well, they'll never lie about like something this big. This is like, it's just, it doesn't make sense. It goes against blah, blah, blah. And in the initial arguments, some people are making some good points. And even though I was like, oh, well, I'm not sure if I agree with this. Eventually I was like, that's a good point. That's a good point. Okay, wait, no, that correlates with that. And that's what flipped me. So, you know what? Like, a lot of people might be booing Jose, but I guarantee you, at least some of them, they're going to think about what he said, and that's the point of what he does, and that's why I love him for it.
Difference in itself. Yeah, true.
Did
you want to pull up that clip, or were you just mentioning it, Greg?
We can pull it up. Let's give her a rip, bud.
But it's crazy how I guess it's just like a knee-jerk reaction, you know? Oh no, like somebody is trying to, interfere with my hermetically sealed ideology. Can't have none of that.
Yeah, of course not. But I mean, at one point in time, everybody. This is the biggest way to humanize like everybody. You just have to remember that like everybody was this at one point in time.
Dude, I didn't wake up until around after I got divorced in like 2020, 2021.
Yeah. Like everybody
I would say after Bernie betrayed us the second time, I like remember the day of just tearing up my mail-in ballot, and I was like, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was like the start of it, and then freaking COVID happened, and yeah, the thing was like the only reason I was kind of familiar with COVID was because like I was kind of like suspected that in the beginning was because like my dad had done a lot of investing with companies in the past that had put out like medications and stuff like that, and I always knew the process for getting a vaccine approved and going through the whole process was like
exactly.
decades.
Yeah, because we have plenty of examples from the past. Everybody go look up the Cutter incident or go look up the Tuskegee experiment. These didn't come out of thin air. These were valid concerns based on fucking historical events. And they tried to make us feel like we were insane for it. I don't get it. I never will. All right,
let's. You got it pulled up. This is kind of nuts.
Can you please make a statement about President Joe Biden's speech? This is a clearly warmongering speech. President Joe Biden is calling for $100 billion of funding for Israel, Taiwan, and Ukraine, and we're supposed to just bundle these together and pretend like we're going to rush to World War III, and we're all just going to let Hillary Rodham Clinton sit here. And,
okay. Now shut up.
I'm
sorry. This is not.
Yes,
this
Queen.
is not
yes.
the way to have a conversation.
I'm sorry.
If you want to have a conversation, you're welcome to come talk to me afterwards.
You can sit here. Okay, right. You're gonna wait for me, right? Please.
Exactly.
And I will listen to you, and I will respond to you.
I do not believe you.
But
respectfully, I do not believe you. And the fact of the matter is that the American people's voice are what need to be heard.
Yeah, they are being heard.
Because our president is not speaking for the American people, and neither are you.
That's your opinion. That's your opinion.
Yes, that's my opinion.
But then sit down. We've heard your opinion. Thank you very much. Now we're going to.
I'm not going to sit down. I'm not.
And that's called narcissistic rage, everybody. You saw it right there. The second their control is threatened, that's when you see the demon come out. But God bless Jose for actually going up against the Lich Queen herself. May we find her flag
I hadn't
someday.
seen this. I saw another one. Maybe it was the one that he was talking to Matt out.
I'm not going to stop.
No, he faced down Smog herself.
You haven't seen this?
No, I hadn't seen this. That's awesome.
I will say this.
I'm going to exercise.
I will say this forever. I will say this forever. If this whole timeline that we live in were a video game, she would absolutely be the last boss.
The
and
final
it's
boss,
not,
for sure.
Yes, absolutely. There's no question.
She represents.
It's like as we're watching this, like, what is her official position? What is her official position? Nothing. So why does she have so much power? No one ever asked that question.
Because she wields Frostmourne, my dude. Like, Christ. She is literally the Lich King.
Like, it's just that sort of freaking. It's the same thing that I see with like the name Kennedy. To be honest, is like you can't have these people who carry these names throughout American history when they don't really have any position. Like she has no position. She's like, no one should give a fuck what she has to say. But because she's a Clinton and because she's been like dug into the freaking political establishment for fucking 40, 50 years, like she's entitled to freaking talk to us about policy and we're supposed to listen.
You know, from now on, I'm just gonna call her Mephistopheles. I don't give a shit. That's her new name forever. I'm not. I've never. Baphomet. Exactly. Just call her Bathy.
Man, I
But
can't
it's not free speech when you are disrupting everybody else's opportunity to speak.
This is free.
So what's free speech?
This is peak. I want to speak to the manager energy. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
So free speech isn't free when you interrupt someone. So you're not free to interrupt.
You're not free to interrupt Hillary Clinton. No.
Free speech is when you do not interrupt the archdevil of the 9 layers.
That's right. That's right.
Free speech, everyone. This is free speech. That is not free speech. This is people constructing narratives that are openly hypocritical. I'm sorry. The incredible hypocrisy.
You know,
Because
you could actually
Dulles went with Eleanor Roosevelt to bring this Declaration of the Rights of Man. John Foster Dulles was involved with the CIA.
Oh yeah, well you're brilliant in your historical cherry picking.
The Pinochet regime.
Oh,
please inform me about
narcissistic rage, right there.
Man.
We're going to move on.
Narcissistic rage.
Man, she got a little uncomfortable with some of those truths.
Yep, because whenever all of these fuckers, and you saw it with you saw it with Marianne Williamson in that clip where she got clapped for reparations, and she walked over to the camera, and when she noticed the camera, she regained her composure. All of these fuckers, the second they feel like they're losing control, they throw a tantrum, and it's because anybody who probably has narcissistic personality disorder, and Hillary Clinton, I would absolutely go on file saying she probably does. All of these fuckers, the second they feel like they're losing control, because a part of their brain is still at like literally 4, 5, 6 years old, they will throw an actual tantrum. That's what you're seeing from Hillary right here. You are seeing a fucking tantrum. Because that part of the brain never reached.
You mean everybody doesn't grovel at my feet and listen to every word I have to say? Oh my God.
Kicking and screaming and shitting and farting. That's her right now.
That's the problem, is that like all of these people do. They all do, besides him.
That's because under this system that we live under, you have to basically be a disordered human being in order to thrive. Because if you actually had a modicum of empathy and you had a feeling of decency and solidarity with your fellow man and relatability, then you wouldn't be able to thrive under this system. There's no way you could, because you would have to exploit people. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
With Eleanor Roosevelt to bring this Declaration of the Rights of Man, John Foster Dulles was involved with the CIA.
Oh yeah, well you're brilliant in your historical cherry picking.
The Pinochet regime.
Please,
could you please inform me about the United States involvement in these historical things?
We're going to move on
Miss
to
Clinton,
will you denounce Joe Biden for human rights, not just
fuck out. He's got
Frank,
the chair.
I want to turn to you because you
so
are
Frank,
from
I want to turn to
Uganda,
you.
and
I'm
you've
just gonna
got
pretend
this
that
2023 Anti-Homosexuality Act criminalizes LGBT.
Anyway, rainbow politics, rainbow capitalism. Just throw in full at them. That's amazing.
LGBTQ. Gay.
I never understood what people liked about her in 2016. I don't understand. I don't understand what people like about her.
I'm just hoping everybody with a narcissistic parent who hasn't gone through therapy yet will vote for her. Sorry,
the establishment really thought that they could just play the woman card and have her be like just freaking have it easy street to freaking presidency.
Bro, and she took an L to Donald Trump.
After doing Pied Piper.
Amazing.
After trying to prop him up. Like, it's like just like the hubris of this lady to fucking think that she's like, okay, I'm going to get Trump to run so that it'll be easy for me. And then it turns out, oh, people actually hate me way more than I thought they did. And she got smoked by him. It's just so, and I still think they cheated in 2016 and she still lost. So that's like insult to injury.
I mean, I've always been the like, just type it, guys, just in case you just like a hint, type in Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, go look at the images section. Just, it's right there.
That's what you need.
It's right
That's
there.
what you need. That's really all you need.
That's right there. There's not a bunch of
Oh yeah, because
pictures of them
they've been
glaring at
friends.
each other. It's a bunch of them. Obviously, they're friends, and they're fucking conning all of you. Fuck.
It's true. It's true.
That whole debate was just cosplay. They went to dinner after, I promise.
Push us to World War III.
Oh,
Do you
please.
understand?
Oh
It's
please.
not about Israel
Oh
and
please.
Palestine.
Cut
It's
that
not
out. So
about
once World War
Israel.
III happens, we'll just have Hillary saying, "Oh please.
Oh please.
Oh please." There's no World War III. It's just a war between the entire Middle East and the United States.
Oh please. It's not a war. It's a fucking genocide. Get it right, okay, Sweaty?
Yeah. It's not a war. It's a conflict.
It's not a war. They can't go against us.
This isn't football. It's not Team America.
Well, I'm sorry, but some of us are on Team America despite our flaws and our
Yes,
problems.
yes, that's me.
And some of us, every person on this stage.
You have to stop right now.
She had to call in for help. I don't know who this lady is.
And is that even like a normal thing outside of like American politics and stuff where there's just handlers like waiting to like freaking grab the cane and like throw you away? And,
Oh,
like,
it's at every event. Oh, you
But is that like an American thing, or does that happen all over the world?
Because
Because like I
happens
feel
at, like every political event for the big figures, pretty much.
Yeah, guys. No, guys. I heard that
When I
if
went to
someone-
RFK,
if someone does a Saji, he just blows them up right there, and then he blows up their whole family. I heard that on I think Kennedy was talking about that the other day.
So that guy did not kill himself. He did not kill himself.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, oh man, you challenged like the murder clown herself.
Dude,
I know, because that's the first thing I think of is like, that as soon as this like little freaking masturbation session ended, that Hillary was like, "Who was that guy?"
Yeah, who was he?
Dude, he asked for identification.
For what?
Wait, I want to say one thing. Every person on this stage has risked their life, their income, their reputation, their careers, and what have you done other than stand up and disrupt?
I need you to.
Wow, what a bitch! Who is that lady?
And Frank's records against you any day of
They
the
got
year.
I'll
triggered.
respond. What I have done is I have asked Hillary Rodham Clinton to denounce the president's openly warmongering, suicidal, idiotic speech.
And I've
That's
given
what I've
my
asked.
answer. I will
That's
not
what
do
I've
that.
done.
So that's the end of our conversation. But I'll still meet you outside. But you're done.
Right now.
I'll meet you outside.
Wow.
Jose, don't do it, bro. Don't do it. She's gonna show her true form.
You want to
This
hear
is
that
how
again?
So that's the end of our conversation. But I'll still meet you outside. But you're done.
Right now.
Wow.
I'll meet you outside.
And that guy asked for identification. Did I just hear him ask for identification?
Yup.
You want to hear it
Damn.
again?
What I've done.
So that's the end of our conversation. But I'll still meet you outside. But you're done.
Right now.
Yep.
Okay,
Right
Frank.
there.
Okay, she
Frank has been.
She said she'll meet me outside.
Okay, come.
Yep.
I'll meet you outside at 3:00.
I would
flagpole.
I would never give my identification to a Hillary handler.
No.
That's like asking
I mean,
for
you
it,
can't-
like
he's
looking
not a
over your
cop.
shoulder for the rest of your fucking life.
What is he gonna do? What he can't demand his identification.
No,
You can,
no,
no. In that situation, you just say no.
Yeah,
you just say no.
You just say
You
no.
just say, I'm not giving you my identification.
Like I would think that most people, if they're like Jose and willing to confront Hillary Clinton, they already know that they're not going to give their ID to anybody. I
I'm
probably
sorry,
wouldn't
that
even,
takes-
that
that
like
takes brass balls.
it takes a special person like Jose to freaking be able to confront Hillary like that, and he would already know not to freaking even bring his ID if they're not checking IDs at the door. I wouldn't even bring my ID, so they couldn't take it from me.
So I don't think that wasn't Jose, but it was I think maybe Jose was.
No, it was one of his friends.
It was
Like-
good though. Like he didn't.
Regardless of like, I would yell at these motherfuckers myself, but like not Hillary. Out of all of them, because you're right, she is like literally like the lynch king. Like she will. You're asking to get suicided.
She's
And-
narcissistic enough that
as
she
soon as
would
I heard-
actually like get upset over it.
As soon as I heard that guy, like, I need your identification. Like, they're gonna find out who.
Like
that
I'm
guy is.
out.
Dude, dude, they have his face.
Yeah, it's not.
They're
It's
gonna
not
find
good.
out who he is.
That guy is now.
He probably had to sign his name down in order to get in anyway.
Guys, he's already dead.
Yeah.
No, don't say that.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But
May the
yeah, that's
Allfather guide your
it takes a lot to go up to Hillary. I'll give him that because I don't think I could do that. I mean I've never really gone to these things, and like, you know, I've seen like Jose, I've seen a few people, like I saw Russell the other like, what was it, a few days ago or last week?
Oh yeah,
we can call somebody out
too.
And like so I give props to people who are doing that, but man, like Hillary is like another level of like, how far are you willing to go for free speech and to call people out that you're willing to go to Hillary Clinton? Because that
he's gonna walk outside. He's gonna be like, "Why do I hear boss music? What's that health bar at the bottom of the screen?" Oh no, I got the wrong gear. I got a fat roll. Shit.
That's what my point of like all this is like we're like we can do like the like interventions, we could do like these massive like global protests, but is any of it doing anything? Is any of it like even chipping in at the wood? Like, are we like where are we in just like some purgatory?
So okay, so no,
capitalism.
you did a so first. You go.
All right. Well, I mean, I'll defer a little bit to just because the guy who kind of popularized the term mass formation, Matthias Desmond, during COVID, he actually said something recently, and he said this a few times while like talking about mass formation, where he's like, even though you know that more than half the country is either like completely out to lunch or unwilling to listen to you, it's still worth it for that 20 or 30% or less who get it to keep speaking out, because, you know, it's important for us to continue to speak out, because that hurts the kind of illusion. It makes it harder for everybody who's living in that illusion to exist within that illusion, to exist within that propaganda. They're constantly being bombarded with truth. So it's about chipping away at the like narratives and the sheep, like the beliefs that the sheep have bought into. You know, it doesn't happen with one thing, but maybe after like 10 or 20 times.
It's a game though, like the hospital bombing. Like we have to like everything that happens. It's like it's on our end to prove it to other people, because like they're outwardly spreading. Like the mainstream is lies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's. I mean, as far as I don't know, it's difficult, man. But like, and that's kind of what I was saying earlier about, you know, what's our line as far as like when Gaza City is gone, you know, what do we want to, like, are we going to be able to sleep at night? Are we going to be like, oh, we should have done X, Y, and Z? We're going to be like, you know what, like, what do I want my role to be in response to this? Like, I feel like there's more that I want to do. I don't know what to do yet, you know, but I feel like, especially witnessing, you know, of course there was COVID, and there was like, that was the whole thing with like the mandates and free speech and seeing all the censorship start to happen on YouTube. And then there was the Ukraine war, and it was like, wow, now we're seeing everybody kind of ally with these Nazis. And now we're confronted with like literally ethnic cleansing is happening right in front of our eyes. It's going to happen. They made it really clear that it's going to happen. And like, maybe that's the line for me where I'm like, okay, like I actually need to do something more actionable, because like me watching the US galvanize behind Nazis and, you know, get behind all these mandates and get behind like no medical freedom. Like, I don't know. We're watching all these things happen. Like, what's worse than genocide? What's worse than genocide? If we don't have a line at what's going on in Gaza, what's our line?
It's the Holocaust.
Orange Man is
Orange Man bad. Yeah, that's
Orange
it.
Man bad. We just need to tie genocide to Orange Man bad, and we'll.
So I think that's where I'm at. Is like, you know, maybe I want to create more content that helps to radicalize people. And like, I know I've like talked to you kind of about this stuff and kind of going in a different direction, kind of like exploring more options, because like I like researching news and coming up with stuff that people aren't familiar with, but like being this absorbed into the 24-hour news cycle fucked with my head in really bad ways. being exposed to stuff that I was seeing, and it was like, okay, there's a lot of good journalists out there who are already doing that sort of stuff, and I obviously have the chops to do that. Like if I'm doing like, you know, a week of research on Gaza and it breaks me where I have to step away from the fucking internet for 5 or 6 days, and like there's journalists that I appreciate who spent months in fucking Gaza. Like, okay, you guys are doing something that like obviously like is not for everybody, but maybe there's other stuff that I can do behind a mic that's going to help radicalize people in different ways, help people kind of like understand how broken our system is. So, you know, kind of why I wanted to do this discussion tonight was not only to get away from the fucking news that we're being bombarded with every day, and it just feels like it's just been week after week after week of kind of like really depressing shit, where maybe it's time for us to start looking at things a different way and being like, okay, we can keep talking about all this depressing shit, or we can start talking about how to you know, grow or organize or agitate our community, you know.
Okay, let's do that. Let's end this stream with one thing. We'll all name one thing that we can do. Anyone can do to just feel a little bit more in control of.
Oh, thank God, we're finally back to this. I was gonna say this about 20 minutes ago, but you know, that's just how good I am.
That's how this stream goes.
That's why I love you all.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will say this to people. The most important thing we can have right now, and I'll give an example for this. I've been very vocal that I've always supported the trucker convoy back when they stood against the mandates. I will stand by that forever. Why? Because I'm not a fucking liberal. But
really simple stuff.
Yeah. But see, the thing was, the trucker convoy, to those who didn't pay attention, it went in a really weird direction because at first the government kind of just... Okay, I don't know what that was.
That was my laundry. Sorry about that.
Greg farted. He's a robot. No, but at first the government kind of just mocked them and called them like, you know, whatever, they're losers, who cares?
They targeted capital too.
Yeah. That's where I was going with that. So at first it was mocking until the point where the convoy threatened capital. That's when the jackboots came out. That's when everybody started losing their shit and freaking out. And so I will say the most important thing you can do is do everything you can to help everybody in your life achieve class solidarity. Most of us are working class people. If you're not, if you're doing well, God bless. But chances are you probably know a bunch of working class people. And we're all getting fucked by the 1% anyway. So the most important thing you can do is help everybody achieve class solidarity. Because if we stop letting ourselves be divided and we're actually unified on something, look at what your average union threatening to go on strike can accomplish. Think of that.
Don't look in the U.S.
Yeah,
Pretty
exactly.
feckless here, but...
Think of that, but a whole country. So I'd say a good first thing, if you want to do something to just make yourself feel better about all the bullshit we're dealing with and the stress on the toll and the mental health that this is obviously taken on all of us, is I found a cool website. I hope to do a lot more of this as shit goes on, especially if y'all want to do this again, be happy to do so. But I found...
What's it called?
I can...
What just happened? He's like, I got it right here. I got it right here. And I think he X out of it.
Maybe that's oh, there we go.
Okay. Sorry, I guess I just became a boomer for a second. Appreciate it.
You're like, I got it, and then disappeared.
I got it. No, the wrong guy. He didn't say we should join Hamas. Sorry. Had to do a callback. Yeah, it's hold on. Share my screen.
We should all join pajamas.
Okay, so can you guys see that right here?
Yeah.
So this is Mutual Aid Hub, and It's just a cool site that's a shitload of mutual aid networks. You can join them. You can help out. You can get a sense of community. It's for a bunch of different locations. It's got a... Does it have a search? Oh, fuck me. You clowns. Sorry, I'm trying to promote this.
It doesn't have without a search. It's like, never mind.
Like, it's you gotta ignore, just ignore that stuff. No, we don't miss me with that. Fucking.
That's not mutual aid.
just look at just look at flu cases.
I get what
anyway.
you're saying. But yeah.
Yeah. So my point is, my greater point. How do I stop sharing? Am I done sharing my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, days. Okay, so my point is, look into things that help you develop a sense of community, because the reality is, and this is something a lot of us need to start admitting, we're in an echo chamber. Even if we're here doing nothing but just like interacting on Twitter, we're still in an echo chamber. The overwhelming majority of working class people, they're not doing the shit. They're not shit posting about fucking Hillary Clinton on the Bird app.
That's definitely true.
They don't. It's not even that they're brainwashed by mainstream media. They don't care. They're apolitical. They're whatever. These people vote based on like some ad they see on TV. They're completely checked out. And look at the rate of voting in North America and the West in general, and you'll kind of get it. So join things that help you establish a sense of community. Do things to combat that helpless feeling you do feel inside, where it's like, oh my God, these horrible atrocities are going on. Find a soup kitchen, find a mutual aid network, set up your own thing if you can. I'd love to, do another segment where we kind of cover ways to do that in further detail, but it's like, start getting involved in things that do help people and do help kind of bring people together. Because at the end of the day, like, you want some friends when the bombs fall, and you need some fault buddies as well, right?
Survival skills.
No, I'm kidding. But no, you want to start bringing communities and working class people together, because I fully believe that the most important thing we have to do is get everybody who should be on the same side, and that involves talking to your uncle who might have voted for Orange Badman because he saw Orange Badman say something funny on TV. Or, it might involve getting your neighbors involved who are apolitical, period. But anyway, getting people to the best way to fight that feeling of helplessness is to start doing things that make you feel helpful, I guess. So that's my spiel. There's plenty of other websites. Just Google like mutual aid stuff, and yeah, that's my one thing I would suggest to everybody. I already got involved with something called the food pantry here in Ontario, and that's basically just kind of like a food bank. Fed's got brain circuses now.
His power went out.
Fed's got him. See, you mentioned Hamas, and now we're all dead. We're in the afterlife right now. But
well, I mean,
yeah. What's your one thing, Greg?
So I would, if absent of Chris, if he ever comes back, I've been slowly getting my parents and convincing people to stop watching mainstream news. I mean, honestly, it's just not even worth watching at all. If they're just not even if it's someone that's like you can't rely on them to go like find other sources, just give it to them. Just give it to them periodically as like shit's happening, and then they'll begin to rely on you as soon as like shit becomes true.
Yeah, like being like, oh my God, did you hear about this thing? And then all of a sudden you're gonna like program them to like look at you for news, as opposed to like Rachel Maddow or David Pakman if they're on YouTube and they're having a bad day or whatever.
But just turning it off, turning it all the mainstream, like even if you're getting it from different, whether it's like Fox and CNBC, I know people who just have like leave the news on just to leave it on. But that's the point, is to like have it, leave it on, and like similarly like keep telling you these messages over and over again, like terrorist Hamas, evil Putin, and it's programming. It's the television itself is programming. It's literally meant to be programming. It's the way that your brain viewing, but
yep.
So
that's a real good one.
Chris, we're absent of one less one. I think he said his spiel. Either way, we went on. All right. Good night, folks. Be sure, we're not on YouTube right now, but follow us on Rumble. We're hopefully gonna be able to get off that shit platform if it's ever materializes anything else. But we have other ways you can support us. You can go over here. Actually, himself has a show on Thursday, but we, as a network, we have a Patreon, a Substack, plenty of ways to help and support the channel, help us all that we want to do.
All right. Well, I had a blast. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. We got a pretty good turnout over here on the Rumble tonight, and we do appreciate you all very much. And keep questioning everything, and fuck capitalism, and fuck Israel, right. And fuck YouTube.
And fuck Israel, fuck YouTube, 100%.
Fuck them both.
Fuck YouTube. Fuck it all.
Fuck YouTube.
Good night.